This video is gonna be honestly kind of like a ceremony, but also about someone I've been meaning to make a video about since way before I heard the news that he's supposedly dead. I don't really know how true that is, but I know I've been trying to get him to respond to messages under Cash App for it's definitely been over a year. So, honestly, it may be true. I hadn't messaged him in a while because, for one, this is my old Reddit account from 2021. That's where these pictures are from. And I've been on there off and on through different accounts. I don't remember what his account was. I did message him on other apps before. But the thing is, like many of us, he was pretty borderline, and so it's the more he gets to know you, and the more he actually knows that he can trust you, and that you're not gonna screw him over, the more he starts to treat you funny. So it was just a lot of stuff with that, where the more I show signs that I wasn't gonna use him how some other people were, the more distant he got. Then there was also this whole situation where he started splitting and flipping out on another borderline person I know. Because this is what happens when you go through certain trauma. You become pretty borderline, as we all fall into, at least for certain amounts of time in our life. And so anyway, pretty much he got into an argument with this girl I know. Long story. Then there was also some other situations, but that was specifically the last time I talked to him, because he was just doing a lot. And right now, I'm on my old phone, or one of my old phones. I've been back on here for a little while because the last phone I got is really broke. So this still has stuff in it from even before I left the situation. And so I was looking through here and I saw these old messages from him. And it's really looking at them now and what little bit I have read, he just sounds way more coherent than he did even the last couple of times we talked. And I was always worried about him. Because, for one, he was 19 when I met him. He, of course, was a past runaway, or at least he tried to run away a lot of times, but it seemed like either never ended up working or most of the times didn't work. And so, him and his girlfriend would get locked up, and his girlfriend's parents would have raped her for a punishment after one of the times they tried to run away. And then they just said that he did it. And of course, they don't care to actually check people for that. And depending on what actually happened, there wouldn't really be any DNA left. But police don't care anyway. So parents can always say whatever they want and do whatever they want. But anyway, that's part of the reason why he wanted to help other runaways and other abused victims as much as he did. But due to his trauma symptoms and loneliness and all that, he was constantly in these not good situations trying to help people that really could be avoided. And he was also dating this trauma lady who bragged to him and sent him pictures about how she was cheating on him with a 15-year-old, and she was 30 or something, and she'd even went to prom with the boy, and she sent him the prom pictures, and it was just not good. And then he showed me the pictures, and then she was a witch, and she was getting into these arguments with people about who was stronger. She also was trying to get him killed at one point. And then there were plenty of other situations that I can't even really remember the specifics on, but it was just hundreds of situations that led to him going into well over 24K in debt trying to help people, to make a long story short. From running after people who are full-blown prostitutes and of course abusive, to trying to help different runaways and then them not really following up and doing exactly what they would say they were going to do. Like one girl said she needed a specific amount of money for her group, but then she took the money and ditched everybody and didn't even help the group. So things like that. And I'm not going to lie, he was really nice. In fact, my Cash App was under him. And if it wouldn't have been for that, it would have been even harder for me to leave and even for me to get by after leaving. Because this is where I would put money to the side from busking and different things like that. And it's even with how he was split on me, because I was the only person that wasn't screwing him over all day, every day and lying to him about things, it's still really upsetting because he was really helpful throughout the whole situation. Wait, did I even talk about the point? I don't think I did. So, I had asked around about him and asked if anybody knew about what happened to him. And someone was like, if you're talking about the person that I think you are, then he killed himself in some months ago or last summer, something like that. Which if this is the same person that we're talking about, and it was around that time, that would mean it was a little after the whole situation where I got mad at him because of this situation with this girl I know. And then it was something else. Oh yeah, then there was this whole situation where this girl got mad at him for helping her, even though he didn't really know her that well yet, but not helping me like he originally said he would do. Because it's hard to explain, but kind of like I already said, he just was split on me because I just wasn't doing things that other people were doing, and it's a common trauma symptom where you'll just run after people who you really shouldn't, and that could be a whole video of its own. But yeah, so this girl had got mad at him because of that, and then he got mad at me, and it was just a lot with the situation. And then she got mad at me in the end too, because she was like, well, okay, wait a minute, how do I summarize this? So this is a girl that I mentioned before in the truth behind, or my second truth behind missing kids cases video. This was the girl who was running from her dad, who was sexually abusing her, to go live with her mom. And of course there were missing persons reports out and stuff, although she had an advantage because the only pictures her dad had of her were from when she was 10. And she was 16 at the time. So she just had an advantage, but the police were being sent to her mom's house to look for her. And then her mom had backed out, as she said, quote unquote, word for word, because her mom had a girlfriend that didn't like the daughter and didn't want to risk going to jail. And so the girlfriend was like, well, she's not coming to my house, but she can stay with my nephew, who of course is a chomo. And then she was staying with the nephew, and he was molesting her. And it honestly makes me think more about how the mom's girlfriend, whose nephew it was, makes me think more about how she got turned out in the first place. Sounds like probably some incestuous stuff was going on. But anyhow, I was like, the thing about running away and escaping an abuse situation is accepting being homeless and not living on the streets. You don't even have to do that. Accepting being homeless and camping in the woods. And if you're not willing to do that, then you might as well not even leave, because you're just going to throw yourself back into the same situation. Because I was like, what's even the point of you leaving your dad who's sexually abusing you to go be sexually abused by your mom's girlfriend's nephew? But, anywho, what was I going to say? But yeah, so originally she wanted to go stay with the dude I was originally talking about, which I meant to give a name for him, which is going to be Dreamer. And so she wanted to go stay with Dreamer, but I was like, that's really, really risky for a lot of reasons. For one, he splits a lot, and he's bound to split on you and start getting paranoid and feel like you're, I don't know, out to get him or something. Overall, he's 24K in debt, and he's dating a whole bunch of chomo ladies who are high-ranking witches and stuff, and are just trying to kill him every other day. Because one of the girlfriends had tried to kill him, and it was a lot of stuff with that situation. I don't even really remember that much about that. But yeah, anywho, I was like, it's just not a good idea. You're either gonna camp or you're not. Because to be truthfully honest, if you're not willing to do things the right way and really camp and hide, you're probably gonna end up getting caught and sent back, or caught, locked up, drugged, and charged and in prison somewhere, and then eventually sent back to your original abuse situation. So if you're not gonna do it the right way, then it's not worth it. But yeah, I guess that's the summary. And it's like, looking back at these older messages, he definitely was way more coherent than like the last couple of times we talked. But yeah, he helped a lot of people. He really tried, I'm not gonna lie. And what he did definitely helped me throughout my whole situation, still till today. And the thing is, as simple as being over somebody's Cash App account is, most people aren't even willing to do that, and that's like the bare minimum that you could do, is be the head of somebody's Cash App account so they can get the card and like put their own money on there. But most people won't do that, and they'll make up reasons why they won't do it, and they'll be like, well, I don't want to go down with you, or I don't want to get in trouble, and I don't want to be accused of anything, and different things like that. And that's the bare minimum that someone could do. And so that was nice of him, of course, and it's just a sad situation in the end. Because it's like, even though he eventually got out of his abuse situation with relatives, and his girlfriend that he had back when he was younger, she eventually was gaslighting and turning on him and acting like he didn't try to save her. And he still had a lot of feelings for this girl and was worried about her, of course, because she was still locked up in a conservatorship being molested by her parents. And yeah, that was like the last thing he knew of her. And she never got out. And that's another thing that I say a lot. I'm about to go off on a rant. And I used to say a lot on the evidence channels. Don't fall into this whole wait till you're 18 bullcrap. Because like I've already talked about, there is no difference between being 17, 18, 16, 20, none of that. The only difference is that once you turn 18, you can legally go to a shelter. But whether you can legally go to a shelter or legally leave at 18 even, still depends on what your situation is, because you really still can't do anything else other than that. So it's like, I mean, you leave at 18 and not 17, you can stay at a shelter, but you still have to figure something out and you're still homeless. And also, if you do that, it may be too late by then. You may be dead already. You may have already lost your mind by then. Or you may be in a conservatorship by then or something else, which all depends on what your situation is. But that's honestly not safe, and most people don't even get out at 18 either. If you're not one of the people that leave somewhere from age 7 to 16, then you're usually going to be one of the people that's being beat on and locked in closets and starved well into your 40s and 50s, if you ever get out. But anyways, what I was saying is that his situation showed that just because you get out of a situation and go quote unquote live a normal life and work a job and pay rent and have an apartment or a house doesn't mean that like you're okay. Cause he had a job, he had his own apartment, he had his own apartment, and I mean he was still traumatized and severely broken and falling apart day by day. And you can't just jump into the matrix to try to move on. And I'm not like saying that the victim blame. I'm saying that because that's the narrative that's pushed to like either blame homeless people or just blame people who are talking about how they still have trauma and stuff in general. But of course people are promoting everything but healing, real healing, not going to talk to some therapist that is a grown man that's probably wearing a diaper and dressed like a 6-year-old girl. Not that. Which all they do is give you drugs and have you high all day. Or, depending on how it affects you, you just get sick from it, which that's going to happen regardless. But you get sick and you get the brain damage, but you don't even get the highs. And then you're left with a whole bunch of health issues. Okay, actually, wait a minute. Apparently, I think this is actually the person that someone said killed themselves. But I don't know. I just kind of remember an account name that was somewhat similar to that, but spelled different, so probably like a new account, because the old one got deleted or something, and they just made a similar one. And I just found those messages in my screenshots, because those used to be used back when I was doing the evidence channels, and they would be like in the videos. But anywho, I'm going to read the messages from the dreamer. But looking back on that situation from the messages, I forgot all about this for a while. That was a situation where when we moved to GA, my mom had pulled a lot of stuff, so I can't really remember like that much, but at one point she had found some evaluation place, and that would be the first time I would ever go to a psychologist, or supposedly go to, because the lady didn't talk to me. But my mom had got the evaluation done, or the quote-unquote evaluation, and my mom hid the results. Whenever I would ask about them, she would claim that it hadn't came in the mail and that she didn't know what happened and all that. And like, honestly, it felt like almost a year later, to be honest. I eventually found it, or she eventually showed it to me. And I found that the reason that she didn't ever mention it or wouldn't like show it to anybody was because that psychologist had said, based off the what my mom had told her and all the problems that my mom told her I had and the supposed quote-unquote diagnostic history, she said that she didn't really feel like I had any mental problems, and she just felt like I had factitious disorder and liked lying on evaluations, even though I had honestly never had a real evaluation. But she just felt like I liked lying on them to pretend that I had problems that I didn't have, and she just felt like I was supposedly assessed with mental labels. So there was that. That was honestly really funny to find that out in the end, and it's like, oh, well, no wonder my mom wouldn't like show it to anybody. But yeah, that was pretty funny. But that also goes back to what I mention all the time, which is that at the end of the day, when you're underage, you don't get any real evaluations, and all the staff around you, all the quote-unquote mandated reporters, they're all cash for kids system staff. So their job is to work with your abuser because that's what they get paid to do. So she could care less about what was going on anyway. And it was obvious that she had an attitude too. In fact, I remember my mom was really mad after the evaluation, and I didn't know why until that, what felt like a year later, where she finally actually showed me the results, because I kept asking about them, and then it made sense. And this lady, the psychologist, she was even trying to act like I was like a Dr. Google or something, like I had been like Googling mental disorders and just claiming I had them. But you know, they do whatever they want, just their usual stupid mess. Anyways, due to the randomized name addresser on Reddit, a lot of people have the same account names, they're similar. And I just found those screenshots and it did make me think back to the post, but still I was also told that Dreamers probably did too. But like I've said a lot throughout the years, there's no reason for someone under 18 to even want a diagnosis, because there's nothing that they could get out of it. It's just going to be used against them. If you're in a bad situation, it's going to be used against you regardless. It's going to be used against you by your abusers to blame you for everything. And overall, you can't even get a check for it under 18 because SSDI or SSI or whatever it's called, that doesn't even belong to you. That belongs to your parents. So there's nothing you could get out of getting a diagnosis. Anyways, the message is from Dreamer. You're literally living in a horror movie for real. It's like a super smart person in a horror movie town where they keep having people claim they're crazy when they ain't. Also, when are you 18 and what's your plan for it? Because if you don't leave by then, you're still stuck, because with the way it's going, they can have a conservatorship like that Britney lady. I guess I could really skip my messages to save time. Because for one, if I read my messages, then I'm going to want to go on a rant about that whole situation I mentioned, then that'll be real irrelevant. Sounds like it. To be honest, I think you need to get the heck out of there and never look back. I think your moms and sister and everyone else around you is a disease, and they're slowly eating away at your sanity and slowly killing your mind. You have to stay focused and think positive. I promise you that will help. I know it's easier said than done, but just try to focus on your goals and yourself and focus on what you want, whatever that is. Just by talking with you, I know you can do it, and I know you have the power to be better than everyone and just break this curse you currently live in. Failure is not an option. If you fall down, you pick yourself up and you fix it. I believe in you, so work towards getting yourself in a healthier environment. I know sometimes it's hard to see where we're going in life. I believe we are our own destiny, meaning if we have to make choices in life, sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. But those choices will build the next level person you'll become and make you stronger, smarter, and even more a better person. With everything I've heard in the posts you've posted, and they're also mentioning the abuse evidence videos as well. And I seriously want you to succeed, and I want you to show them they're dumb. I truly feel bad for your situation. Maybe that's why we've met. Maybe we're supposed to help each other on things we currently are missing in our lives. Who knows? But I want you to get away from that toxic crap and be safe doing it, so you can start to fix some of the damage already done. Move forward to become a better person. And I don't really know where the rest of this message is. I guess I didn't screenshot the rest. I don't know. And I thank him for every word he said, and I also thank everyone else for different advice they've given me. Just saying that they believe me. All the people who left comments, good or bad, on the abuse evidence channels, because it goes a long way. And even before I started the abuse evidence channels at 14, which I also had 3 videos from when I was 8. So it was kind of like, I mostly started at 14. Well, not mostly, I did, but I had 3 videos from when I was 8. No, 2 from when I was 8, like 2 from when I was 12, and like 3 from when I was 13. It was something like that. And so even before I started those, I already had started realizing that I really needed to stop lying to myself, which I kind of was doing at 12, but then once I started getting drugged, I went back into the la la land, and I was way too sick to even really think, and I was in comas too much. But once I came out of my last coma at 14, that's when I was like, I gotta stop lying to myself, and I gotta stop being unpaid emotional therapist for people who don't give a crap about me and all that stuff. And that was about fake quote unquote friends, not relatives. But at that point in time, what I really was doing and really need to focus on was breaking free from the gaslighting. And I remember some of the first people, other than my research on the physical and spiritual side, narcissistic abuse, and researching CPTSD and the different trauma symptoms. What really helped me, other than that, which that was the main thing, was also my dad's multiple girlfriends telling me about how obvious the situation was. And they had never even met my mom, and she was the one who started most of the issues, at least when it comes to the Cash for Kids system abuse. But they knew enough about my situation to be honest with me about it. And yeah, they never helped me, they never really cared that much, but just them admitting that the situation was what it was went a long way. And my point of saying all this is that people like this dude, they go a long way in someone's life, and their words go a long way, especially in the life of somebody who's really willing to step up to the plate and be the generational curse breaker. Someone who's really willing to run away, take the risk, lay low, hide, not be desperate, not run off with some chomo, not fall back into cognitive dissonance or get desperate and run back to abusive relatives to get killed. Somebody who's really willing to actually do the work and save theirself, and eventually save others. And his existence should be a lesson to others of what they should do, but most are too scared to do.